yes.
There we go, my
No,
brother.
we are.
Ah,
We
are
are
we
in.
in?
I
Are we
can hear
clear?
you perfectly. Awesome.
Yeah, and I can hear you.
Oh,
It's good to see you again, my brother.
We're cut off.
So we'll continue where we left off. Yeah, rudely cut off by the devil.
You know him.
Yeah. So we're busy with hymns in the context of war. So
Yeah.
just to make it clear, we're not referring to the war in Russia and Ukraine only, but war in general.
Yeah.
So it's the war of depression, war of so many things that's plaguing society today. So we're looking at hymns and how they relate and how they should inspire and how we find comfort from various and different types of hymns. So yeah, I can't remember where you left off.
Yeah.
You know?
I was trying to
I
remember
can't remember.
myself. I think we were speaking of what I remember is we're speaking of the condition and the circumstances that birth.
Yeah.
So when we listen to music, we understand it because we can relate to what the author is writing, or even something that's interesting is we can sometimes relate how the author is performing a song. I'll give you an example that many people relate with. Not only are Adele's words relatable, but when someone who's going through a tough time hears Adele, it's not just the words that make them feel Adele's pain. it's the way she performs the music. So music has this thing of linking people, linking people who've gone through similar things, linking people who've struggled in a certain way. So a struggle song or a war song can be understood wherever you are, as long as you understand the context of war or the context of struggle. A war that speaks to not a war, a song that speaks to depression, speaks to whoever you are, as long as you understand that sort of context that births the song. So music communicates in a sense. Music does have that communicatory edge to it. So it basically tells you that I'm going through something, but I also understand what you're going through, and that's why it's essential. Music is essential, or at least art is essential, because it presents this sense of humanity that equations cannot. It expresses humanity in itself because of that expression, whether within the tone of the singing, the rhythm of the song, or even the words themselves. So it communicates on different levels. Yeah, not a unilateral communication. But there's something else you noted there. I want to just brush through it also. In that, when you said something about music speaking to us in a sense of picking us up. So when okay, let me put it this way. When someone goes through something, right, and writes a song, for example, the song we gave an example of last week was "It Is Well." We gave sort of a context of what the struggle the person was going through. But then when they write that song seeks to communicate that okay, I know this is where I am. I am struggling where I am.
Mm.
And whoever is listening to the song may be in a similar position or maybe even worse. But where I
Yes,
am
yes.
is not where I will end up, you know. So music has this sense of
Mm. Mm.
communicating. It doesn't end here. Um, music has
Yes,
this
yes.
thing of communicating. Not only do we come together and struggle to say, okay, we understand the struggle, but we come together to say we are together in fighting the struggle, you know. So when we sing a song like "It Is Well Together," in a sense, we are stating
Mm.
we understand it is rough now. We understand that we are going through pain now, right? But we are fighting through it together, and that I believe is essential when we speak of music, especially in the context of war, because it is not an individual expression. Because even in the book of Psalms,
Mm.
there are communal expressions, you know, whether it's of sadness or of joy. But there are times where music unites us, not only in hope, but also in action, you know. Um, that's
Mm.
why even in the struggle against apartheid, music was had a significant role to play, because it expressed
Mm.
this feeling of those who are fighting this regime, but it also expresses a wish, you know. But then it unites everybody in that common goal, in that common effort. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that fundamentalness of music is quite essential.
Mm. Just to
Mm,
interrupt you there, Haki. You know, the speaker was at church today. The speaker spoke
mm,
on a song. The old rugged cross made the difference. And you know him, Marshall was preaching, and he was preaching on that it's communion. So he was preaching on the cross and crucifixion,
yeah,
etc. And this particular song, it has some personal meaning for me. You know, I can testify to that song. But that's a story for another day. I won't go into
yeah,
detail. But what I want to mention, he left the climax of the song out when he quoted the song, and it goes like this: barren walls echoed harshness and anger. Little feet ran in terror to
mm,
hide. Oh, but now those walls ring with love, warmth,
mm,
and laughter, since the giver of life
mm,
moved inside. So now I just want you to pay close attention to that word, barren. So if you going or suffering from depression, for example, if someone is suffering from depression, there is that certain void in your life. You know, there's a void, and it's empty. But now this song says barren, which means these walls they cannot give life. They
yeah,
can't give life. But now that the giver of life has entered, now there's love, warmth, and laughter. You see, now it's the same with those suffering from um, depression or addiction or whatever. There is always that void. But the minute you find something, something to fill that void. For example, Christ Himself to fill that void. Then something
yeah,
amazing happens, and it brings me to this hymn. It's 487 in the garden, and it goes, I come to the garden
mm,
alone. So again, a sense of loneliness, alone. There's no one with this person, while the dew is still on
mm,
the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God
mm,
discloses. And then here it comes. This person is lonely, but now the Son of God discloses, and this is what happens. And he
yeah,
walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I
sure,
am his own. So immediately that sense of loneliness is eliminated, because now I'm not alone. Christ is with me. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that
I
in
love
there, you
what you're
know.
saying, because let's take a song that we might take for granted. This song, Master the Tempest is Raging. Um, now I've
Yes,
sung that
yes.
song for many years, and it meant nothing to me until I went
Mm.
through quite a difficult time. Uh, Now here's
Yes.
what's interesting about the song. The especially so it says, Master, the tempest is raging, the billows are tossing past. And so the stanza sort of narrates this struggle, right? That the disciples are going through. So the stanzas are sort of a narration. But if you go to the chorus and you look at it carefully,
Mm.
um, the words and also the music that backs the words, you will notice that, at least how I interpret it, you'll notice that the writer may be expressing what is said in the words, in the music itself. So, what does it say? Da, 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 da. The winds and the waves shall obey my will. Right. Now, if
Yes.
you listen to
Yes, yes.
how it's sung,
Mm.
right? Of course, if you're watching this video, you may want to just check out a video on it, but you will hear this sort of in within the music itself. You hear the waves, you hear beating, and still it's sort of loud. You know, there's
Mm.
somewhat of a peace.
Yes, yes.
So I love that this person in the boat, or in a, so
Mm.
is that this particular communicate this sense of I'm not alone, but not only in the words, but in the music itself. Coming to coming to the point that we made, I think, last week, in that music communicates in a special way if you can relate to it, you know. So if you've had a
Mm.
loss in the family, you understand that chorus, you know. If you're going through a terrible depression, you understand that chorus. Um, you understand the
Mm.
significance of the statement, peace be still. And that statement isn't communicated to you on a pulpit, it's communicated to you through music, you know. And that expression itself is quite critical. Um, Music allows us to win a war even before we fought it. It
Yeah.
gives us this sense that we have conquered, even before we've actually set
Mm.
foot on the battlefield. And that's why music is quite critical, in all aspects, especially in our personal walks and in our personal struggles. Because without music, and music, I'm not only talking about the music we listen to in our free time, but the music we communicate with, you know, um, the hymns that we hear, the hope that is delivered through song. That's very important.
Mm. What's that song? My hope is
Oh
built on
yes,
nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Yeah, I like that song. Even the way the church sings it.
it is.
It's
It's a
it's a
wonderful song.
beautiful song,
I don't.
you know.
Yeah.
And so many of these songs are sung so many of these
Mm,
songs are sung beautifully, you know. Um, that song in particular, the one you were just talking about, Master the Tempest is Raging,
yeah.
is also a beautiful song, when the church, there's just something special about certain songs that touches the heart, you know, goes straight. And what I like about worship, especially music in particular, when we sing songs in church, certain songs or each song touches
Yeah,
someone different, you know, like each song is
that's true.
relatable for someone else, you know, and that's also the beauty of worship. When we sit in church, we sing these beautiful songs, and each person relates to the different teams
Yeah,
differently, you know, and that's a ministry
it
on its
is.
own, you know. You have the divine service and so forth, but that's a ministry on its own. And yeah, sometimes it even speaks to the congregation more
Yeah,
than the sermon
yeah.
itself will, you know. Um, like like when I was a little boy, I never liked sermons.
Oh.
I'll be honest with you. I never liked sermons, especially the long ones. But the minute there's a special, the
Yeah,
minute there's a special item, ah, there's my attention, and I'm sitting there, and you know, I'm actually listening
yeah,
to the music,
yeah,
you know, and that's something beautiful that we have
yeah.
in the church, you
You
know.
know, many many people have expressed their thoughts, and I understand that each song speaks to everyone differently, because we also need to understand that music is broad. Um, the scope of music is
Mm,
broad, so it's almost impossible to have one thing um, that can be described as, I don't know if the word I should use is good, but there is a scope of music that communicates. You know, we can't always
mm,
sing "We Are Marching to Zion" because sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Um, some
yeah.
sometimes we need to sing songs like what's the song? "As the deer panteth for the water." You know, uh, sometimes "As the deer"
Mm,
isn't enough. Sometimes we sing the song "I Need No
yeah.
Other Evidence." You know, and sometimes
Mm.
we need to sing songs like what's the song?
Near the cross is
You
also
know,
you
near
know
the
the song
cross.
near the cross.
And sometimes we just need to sing a chorus, you
Mm.
know. But
Yeah.
if we understand how to use music, then we will actually get to a point where we understand praise and worship and all these intricate elements of
Mm.
our faith and church. Because there are songs, and here's the thing: when Christians come together from different denominations and faith groups, when we come together, there are thoughts that we all relate to. Um,
Mm.
for example, there is a song. I don't know if you know Joko ya Hawe Baby. You know it. You
Maybe
know
I've
it
heard
though.
it. I'm not so sure of the
Um,
lyrics.
or let me give you an example. You know the Piri, right? Yeah,
Yes, my favorite
I
song.
know. But a song like Piri is not there in the Adventist hymn now, right? But when we come together with
Mm.
other faith groups, such a song communicates with all of us, you know, not only because
Mm.
of how it's expressed, but also because it suggests that God knows that which is unknown. Um, and those who plot against us
Mm.
secretly, God will defend us. And these are thoughts that even we relate to, you know. So music is broad. It's not just one simple whole. It's a broad thing. There are times when you just want to dance for God, where the only reaction to God that you have or you can have is to jump for joy. But you can't jump to holy, holy, holy. There are times when you want to fall on the ground and cry. But you do that to a song like You Are Marching to Zion, The multifaceted nature of faith must also be reflected in our expression through music.
I like how you say that, and also I like how you mentioned sometimes we just need to sing a chorus, for example. My dad always loved the song when we would have family devotion and worship. He'd always sing, "Trust in the Lord and don't despair. He is a friend so true. No matter what your troubles are, Jesus will see you through." Sometimes the battles we face throughout the week and circumstance brings us to this point where we feel, empty. And then you sing something this simple, this chorus, "Trust in the Lord and don't despair." So that basically says that despite what I'm going through, despite the circumstances I might be facing on a daily basis, I can still come down the evening and sit with my family, and I can still trust in God, because there's so many other things to be grateful for that He has provided me with, And like you say, sometimes we just need to sing a chorus, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full on His wonderful face. All these songs, especially I love songs about the cross, because the cross basically sums up where we should find ourselves when we are faced with circumstance. Like the song, this a cappella group sings, it's Vocal Union, I think. They sing "Once Upon a Tree." I like how that song starts. The greatest story told started with these three words. Not with "once upon a time," but "once upon a tree." And that brings us, when we think of the cross, that basically humbles us. It brings us back down to earth, from, especially when we place ourselves on a pedestal. We had communion today, and an 80-year-old man washed my feet today, and his knees are finished. So he goes down on his one knee, and he washes my feet. You know how humble I felt. I felt like, that way where Mary Magdalene washes Jesus' feet. She humbled herself to wash his feet. And okay, I don't know how Jesus felt, but I'm sure the feeling must have felt similar, and that basically humbled me. And and it brings me to the cross, where our burdens. There's another song, "Burdens are lifted at Calvary." So I come with my heavy load, and I know when I bring it to the feet of Jesus, it will be removed. Of course, sometimes it might not be removed immediately, but the fact that it is removed just for that moment, it's okay. Just for that moment. It's like when you lift in weights, you take a break, and these burdens are lifted just for that moment. And then when these burdens come back, I'm able to carry them again until I come to Jesus' feet again, and they lifted just for that moment. And sometimes that's just enough for me, and that's why I like how you said that sometimes it's just all we need is just a chorus at times.
And as I'm listening to what you're saying, it must be said, because hymns are sung within a certain frame of understanding. It must be said that we come to the cross because it is the only place where this one person can relate to what we are going through. So when we are in deep depression, we come to the cross because of this belief that this person or this thing is the epitome of what I'm feeling. When you go through grief, the cross is this place where you come and commune in understanding. It's not just a matter of I'm going to the cross because we have to go. I go there because I know I will be understood at the cross. So that's our first step. We go there to be understood. But once we get there, when you say burdens are lifted at Calvary, there is this paradox that the cross presents. I keep coming back to it as well. There's this paradox that the cross presents, and this is it. That the burden isn't lifted in that the problem is solved. The lifting of the burden is the transfer of the problem. It's like this. You owe me 100 rand, right? And you cannot pay the 100 rand. Someone comes in and buys your debt. Now, the logistics of that, I'm not too sure, but I know that people can buy the debt. And there is an arrangement that happens there, which I will not go into. In that scenario, when the person comes to you for the transfer of debt, whatever the agreement is, the debt isn't immediately solved, but it is transferred, right? It's no longer your problem, it's their problem. It may still be there, but it's their problem. So when you come to the cross, there's this transfer of debt, if I may say, in that if you're going through whatever you're going through, it doesn't mean you stop going through it. It just means that there is someone else in that going through, there is someone else who carries the burden. The pain is still there, of course. The struggle is still there, but there is someone who carries the burden. And therefore, it suggests that it is well even before the problem is solved. Such that there is peace in the eye of the storm, as some would say. So I believe music, especially hymns, come from that framework. Now, I don't know if I will be going too out of frame here, but I want to say this. We've spoken about context of understanding of hymns. We've spoken about how songs speak to us. We've spoken about context and condition and all that. But it is necessary for us to say that we need hymns that speak to us today. Not saying that hymns that we have do not. But there is a certain condition, right, that is carried over in a song, right, that is understood by certain people, such that it is possible that a meaning of a song can die, because all those who lived within that context have died off. It's possible, right? So we need a continuation of generation of hymns. We need to sing hymns that were written by Charlton Swando, because this is a person who we know, we relate to, And when we see this song, we understand from where it comes from. You know, that is why it is difficult to
So
sing
true.
a song such as Amazing Grace in a struggle. Not that it doesn't fit, the condition is different. You know, it's a good
Yes.
song. We cannot negate that. We cannot deny it of its title as a good song. But we also need something else, right?
Yes.
Such as a song. I keep coming back to struggle songs, but there is this one song. It translates to "What have we done?" You know, and then it says, "Our only sin is being black." It doesn't have many words. It doesn't have a very complicated melody. But because it was born out of a context we understand, or at least those who fought the struggle understood, and that births this reaction and this expression that all singers of that song can relate to. So when it is sung, hey, now with that song, remember there was a time there was a bit of, I don't know if uproar is the right word, but there was sort of a rising up across South Africa against femicide. And this is when there was a young lady who was sexually abused and killed. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this particular example is that song was translated into this context. Why? Because the struggle feels the same, right? So instead of saying our only sin is being black, the words then say our only sin is that we are women, right? So when the song is sung, and there's a video, I don't know where it is, but there's a video of this song being sung, and these people are singing sitting down. And in this expression of the song, you can feel why the song is being sung, you know. You understand, and that is why I say we need to be conscious of our condition, such that when we write and sing songs, these are songs that speak to us, you know. Songs that speak to our grief, songs that speak to our struggle, songs that speak to our financial depravity, you know. When if you lose your job, then you know you can refer to this song, you know, because it expresses something that speaks to you and your struggle. If we take music just as songs we sing and listen to just to pass time, then we are doing a grave injustice to ourselves and to music as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking now you mentioned songs of the struggle and how people would sing songs in the struggle. In the struggle, there was also a void, as previously mentioned. People with depression, they have this void. They tend to be lonely, where they feel that they're on their own. So they have this void, and we have songs like the one I've mentioned, where the song basically reminds you that you're not alone, that Jesus is with you. So the void during that struggle was a sense of freedom. These people in the struggle, they did not have the freedom we have today. So they had this void, and that's why we have and most of the songs sung during the struggle is songs about freedom, songs about being, released, and it reminds me of hymns that is able to basically free you from the struggles that you are facing on a day-to-day basis. So they all go like hand in hand almost. And I was busy reading through this hymn now. It's 159, the old rugged cross. And then it goes, on a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. the emblem of suffering and pain. So if you are in the struggle and you believe that there is a God, but now you're wondering, can this God relate to the pain I'm going through? You know?
Yeah.
And then this song tells you that on a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and pain.
Yeah.
So if you think that God doesn't have an idea, the cross is evidence that he has. He may not, it's not the exact scenario as to what you are going through, but it's a hint of what you might have been facing, because all the emotions on the cross basically sum up the pain we go through throughout our lives. And then hence Jesus is able to relate. It is through the cross that he is able to relate to humanity, where God is able to relate to man basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's something I thought I'd mention.
Yeah. I really love what you're saying. It brings us together, you know. And to extend what you're saying,
Yeah.
when we meet at the cross, right? So, as we have said before, we come to the cross,
Mm,
and we come to the cross because it is this emblem of suffering, something that we all
mm,
can relate to, and he who hung on the cross can relate to all, right? But also, when we
mm,
get there, there is this community of suffering people who have come together
mm.
in union with the cross, um, to seek for something, you know. Um, and in that, there is a uniting factor. Um, uh,
Mm. Sorry, Haki, I
yeah,
just want to throw something in. Sorry to mess with
no
your word
problem.
there. If you compare the Christianity, or yeah, basically Christianity, with pagan religions. I won't mention modern religions, but notice how the Christianity is the only religion who serves a God that suffered.
Yeah,
You see, um, he suffered, so therefore he suffered through Jesus Christ. So therefore he is able to relate to his
yeah,
creation.
yeah,
You get
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying now? Where you see, for example, the Jewish
Mm,
people, right? They do not believe that the Messiah came already. They believe that
yeah.
he is still to come. So they believe in God,
Mm,
right? So in the context of the Jews, for example, did God suffer
mm,
as a man? Did God suffer
yeah,
as
yeah,
humanity suffers? Whereas in Christianity, I'm not placing
yeah.
Christianity on a pedestal or anything. Um, I'm just emphasizing on the beauty of this God that we serve, or in the context of Christianity, how beautiful the relationship between man and God is. Because this particular God we serve is a God
Mm,
who suffered, which is something beautiful.
yeah,
That's something beautiful for me, knowing that I serve a God who can relate to the struggles I face
yeah,
because he suffered. So, for example, if I'm depressed, know that when Jesus was on the cross, his own people rejected him. He was spat in the face, and all these examples. Of course, on the cross, he must have been
mm,
depressed on that cross. He must have felt, to an extent, he must have felt all alone. At times, we feel that way, you know. And
yeah,
then the cross comes because of that event that took place. So basically, that event had to take place so that we could forever have our void filled with that particular event that took place. That is the
mm,
crucifixion of Jesus Christ. You know,
yeah.
you get what I'm saying? Huh? Yeah, sorry, you can continue. I'm
No,
sorry for breaking your word there.
I love what you're saying. Um, Especially in that the cross is an event. Um, but it's also not an event locked in time. It happened, yes. It happened, yes. But the cross is this
Yes.
overarching theme that our parents, their parents, and their grandparents could relate to, because there is this sense of suffering and suffering alongside. And it's interesting, eh? Let's take the example of these guys in the boat. I think it's Mark chapter 4, around verse 37 there, when Jesus is in the boat and then he's sleeping and these guys are fighting the storm. It always intrigued me that Jesus was sleeping in the storm, you know. it was always very weird to me. And he's woken up and he solves the problem. But there is this sense of him being there, you know. If you look at another story in Matthew, forgot the chapter, where Jesus is walking on water. He says, "Do not be afraid, it is I." He hasn't calmed the storm. The storm is still raging. But he says, "Be calm, it is I." It's a very weird thing to say. But the fact that this person is with us within what we are going through seems to be what we need, even before he can address the problem itself. It's quite a very interesting, you know, scheme there. but like you're saying, there is that communication of understanding, you know. That communication of I feel good here because I can relate to, and he can relate to me, you know, fundamentally from a position of human struggle. Like you said, he understands. He understands. What did you say? He understands rejection. He understands depression. He understands anxiety. He understands hunger. He understands fatigue. And from that point, these are points we can relate to. But I was saying that there is this unifying factor that is also presented in the cross. So we commune with Christ through that theme of common struggle, right? But we also commune with others under the same theme. I'll give an example. There was a time we were at school, so I went out for a jog. So what I did, I came out of the gate and then I went the other way. You see that road which takes you to the circle there, around the Stellenbosch Road.
Yes, yes.
So I took that road and then I came down, came back to Spa, and then I went up, right? Now, for those who may not know, it's a very steep road from there. So from going down, it was either almost flat or slightly sloping down. So it was quite an easy run, right? But going up from Spa was very difficult. How far down did I go? I don't know if it was Spa or lower, but it was somewhere on that road. And it was very difficult. It was a continuous steep hill, and I was pushing myself, and I told myself, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna walk. I'm just gonna keep on jogging. I would rather jog slowly, you know. And as I'm going struggling. And as I'm jogging up the hill, up the mountain, there's a lady who comes in the opposite direction. We're on the same path, but she's coming down the hill. And as she's coming down, she raises her hand, right, for a high five. And I high five her.
Mm.
And as I'm going, I'm like, why did that woman high five me? She doesn't know me. We've never met. She doesn't know my name. She didn't say hi. She didn't ask how I was. She just gave me a high five. And then I realized that the high five came from a common struggle. It's a sense of, I understand what you're going through. I'm going through the same, but we will make it. And that commonality, I also find it at the cross, because we come together to this central pillar of suffering. Because we suffer in our own struggles, we come together at this place and we sing songs of hope. But we sing songs of hope together because we understand the struggle. There's this common understanding. And this is where I come to the point where music has a uniting factor. And I want us to be very conscious of this. Because if we do not accept and use the uniting factor that music possesses, then it is very easy for us to lose the plot. When we sing a common song, right? Let's give an example. We are marching to Zion, right? It is a matter of commonality. We are marching to Zion. There's a common goal of the singer, right? As we sing this song together, we are saying we are going there, right? And because of that, if we are moving together, Charlie, if we are driving on the same road and we are in a convoy and you have a tire puncture, I cannot keep moving because I know that we are moving together. I am implored by circumstance to stop and help you replace your tire. The very circumstance that caused us to leave is the circumstance that must cause me to stop when you have stopped. If you stop just to check your radio, sometimes radios can just be funny, so you stop and just make sure everything is okay. That commonality must implore me to stop because you have stopped. If we ignore that commonality within the very framework of music, we've lost the plot. Because now music sort of seeks to put in this humanness, this humaneness, this human expression, the aspect of being, to put it into us. Such that when we sing these songs, we are marching to Zion, that we sing songs against grief, that we sing songs of hope in whatever context. When we sing songs of celebration, we celebrate together. We sing songs of grief because we grieve together. We dance together at a wedding because we are all celebrating together. That's the commonality of humanness, and being a human. It is an essential aspect that we must respect. We must definitely respect that. If we don't, we've lost it.
So true, my brother. My brother, I think we should round up now, and thank you for your insightful comments. I really enjoyed this time with you, the time spent with you, especially anything about the cross is just something amazing.
It is.
We discussed hymns in the context of war. So I hope I hope that the listeners will find comfort in the battles they are facing. Whether it's depression, addiction, or whatever it may be. I hope that they'll find comfort in hymns. At times we point people to the Bible. It's good to point them to the Bible, but I think we should point them to hymns as well, because there's just, since it's more modern than the Bible, so there's more relatable stuff, more relatable to what we going through. So yeah, thank you, Haki, and may God bless you and your ministry. And I'm sure we'll definitely do this again, hopefully soon. May God bless you. Is there anything you want to add in closing or anything?
Maybe just to say thank you to you. It's always a blessing to speak with you, my brother. But in this particular one, I really enjoy
I appreciate it, bro.
It's always nice to stretch, stretch ideas and stretch mentally. But also to those
I've learned so much from you.
I've learned from you too. And it's a continuous give and take, but if there are any songwriters out there, please write, continue writing, don't stop. If you write poems, there is someone who can put music to it. Keep on writing. We need that music. Someone somewhere needs that song. Please write, release, so that we may sing with you from our condition and our understanding. Thank you very much. To Behind the Desk.
God bless. Take care.